Hello everybody and welcome back to the Norries podcast. I am, as always, joined by my good friend Timmy Long.
Hi everyone.
And my cousin Rowan is on the deck. Say hi, Rowan.
Hi, Ron.
This week we have a very special guest, as always. But this week we have another Cork man. He was on the telly there for the last few weeks. Cian O Mahony. How are you, Cian?
I'm good, man. I appreciate for bringing me on. It means a lot, like, do you know what I mean? It does, like.
And thanks for coming on. And we'll have a good chat there now in a few seconds. But before we get going, I want to read out an email we sent Timmy received the other day. Because we receive a lot of emails, and I think the people's emails could be as powerful as what we say.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe going forward we'll read out people's emails if they want, and we'll give them an alias if they don't want their name known. So this woman, I'm going to call her Nicola. That's not her real name. She sent us this the other day. Hey boys, first of all, I just want to know that we have saved my life. Fact, if I hadn't come across your podcast a few months ago, I was very close to giving up. I'm from Cork but have been living in Dublin over 10 years. I originally came to Dublin to go to Coolmine residential treatment in 2007 and was drug free for nearly 4 years. I ended up relapsing in 2011 and within 3 months I had lost my jobs and ended up in a notoriously rough hostel, lost a lovely apartment. Since 2011 it's been a haze of heroin, crack, benzos, methadone and weed. 2 years ago I stupidly decided to come straight off my methadone without reducing nightmares. I went way worse on illegal drugs because the withdrawal was unbearable. Having always been a stoner, I got into crack cocaine. Jesus, what a disaster. When I discovered your podcast, I was in the worst shape of my life, physically, mentally and emotionally, literally in bits. But I started listening to you two and started seeing a bit of light. When you said if you want to change, stop humming and hawing about it and make the call to get help. I was making excuses because of the lockdowns that nowhere would be open. But I just went for it. I found a counsellor who was willing to see me even in level 5 and it clicked with her straight away. I'm blessed. I went back on a low dose of methadone and got stable. This was very hard for me because I was off for over a year, but what was the point of being off my methadone when all I wanted to do was fall asleep and never wake up? I could relate hugely to both of you in different ways. Timmy, you speak about having a tough persona to keep people away to protect yourself, having to grow up fast to mind your younger brothers, gambling, the paranoia from coke. I could go on, and it was like you were on about me. But your advice on meditation, how you break things down about feelings and emotions, how you explain about traumas, I can never thank you enough. James, the struggle transitioning from primary to secondary school, being very bright but hating school, highlight of the week collecting your script out of the chemist, being embarrassed of how you look because of the gear, dodging family. I could go on, same thing, you could have been talking about me, and again I'll never be able to thank you enough. When James and Timmy gave their stories, even in the depths of depression, isolation and self-hatred, two things stuck in my head. James said keep your head above ground because you can't get well if you're dead, and Timmy said there was no such thing as a hopeless case. I really needed to hear those things. The variety of guests is fantastic. Even the gambling episode made me understand my dad's gambling addiction. I have learned more from the podcast about addiction, traumas, negative thoughts than I ever learned from my 2 long spells in treatment over the years. Genuine, respectful, full of empathy and always a bit of a laugh. Such a special podcast, Nicola.
That's powerful stuff, yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Do you know? And Nicola is a fellow Cork lady, do you know what I mean? And she fell on hard times and she had the tools from Coolmine. She just needed a bit of inspiration to tap back into them, and the fact that we could actually be the hook for change there, or be the, you know, the spark ignited in her is unreal, do you know what I mean? So
that's what makes us keep going with everything, like.
This is the whole reason we started it, do you know? So that was brilliant. And then on a lighter note, we got an email from Christy Moore again today. Christy's a big fan of the podcast, so on the board, Christy.
Thanks, Christy.
Right on board.
Right on board.
So look, we'll horse straight into it, Cian. You've been on the telly on Davy's toughest team. It's finished the other day. So a lot of people will be familiar with you, but for those who didn't see it, who are you and where are you from?
Well, I'm from Ballyfian.
We won't hold that against you on an RTE podcast.
I'm from Ballyfian. Well, you know, I wouldn't really say I grew up well, like, do you know what I mean?
Have you brothers and sisters?
I have one brother, yeah, but he's living foreign since I'm about 10 or 11, like, do you know what I mean? So I rarely see him, like, he live over in New Zealand at the moment. well, he was travelling from New Zealand to Australia to Thailand and stuff, do you know what I mean? He came home once or twice, right, like, but I didn't see him in about 4 or 5 years, like.
Well, to be honest, if I was travelling to New Zealand and Thailand, I wouldn't come home either.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
it's that.
suppose.
But you were on Davy's Toughest Teams. Will you tell us a little bit about why they asked you to go on it?
Well, do you know, Mick Finn was Lord Mayor at the time, do you know?
I work with Mick Finn, he's my manager.
Maybe I know Mick Finn very well.
Yeah.
He was the Lord Mayor at the time. And I know Mick from primary school, do you know, like, the kind of bad children like that get brought out, you know, to be playing pool and go swimming and all that. Swimming and all that carry on. That's why I know Mick, like, do you know what I mean? And Mick would know about me, you know, growing up and kind of stuff I went through, like, and he reached out to me, like, he was like, Joe, I can get you an interview for this, like. But you know, that's like,
They play it.
yeah. I text Mick by, I was like, thanks so much, but you don't understand, like, Joe, if I won few, I wouldn't even be, I don't know where I'd be, they'd be deadly honest, like, do you know what I mean?
I remember around this time last year, they were hooting for the show, I'd say, and Mick was saying to me like that the show was coming up, and you know, he had a couple of young fellas he was going to bring up, you know, and they were going to get on the show, and there was a great Cork presence on the show. So you were linked in with Mick, right? Why was things not working out for you in school? Like, did you hate school or?
Or were you not able to focus? Because I know
from primary school, like I was in about three different secondary schools, and from primary school, like I don't feel like I learned a thing, like, do you know what I mean?
I'm the same.
I don't feel like I learned one thing. Like I had ADHD, but I didn't even find out I had it till I was 17 or 18. Like 18, I didn't find out till I had it, like till I went. I saw a psychologist. They brought into college, but anyway, like I was a bad child from very young. Like, do you know what I mean? I wasn't right in the head. Like, do you know what I mean? I do.
Do you know what? No, like listen, come here. I would have thought the exact same. Right, I thought I was a bad child. I don't think there's any child bad. Do you know? And the reason I'm saying this now is because I don't want you to think that you were ever a bad child. We do silly things because we don't know what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? I grew up like you. Do you know? I was in homes as a young child. You know, prisons. I was on the way to prison, and only that a priest and one of those probation officers got me into a treatment centre at the age of 15. Do you know? So I don't think we're bad at all. Do you know? I think we just kind of do things that doesn't make sense.
Didn't really think twice about anything.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
I can completely relate.
The thing is, I didn't really see think like, oh, is this going to affect my family? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, is it going to affect me? I just did it and I didn't care. Like, do you know, that kind of way. Like, but like, but I was that kind of child growing up. Like, their mums and dads wouldn't let them hang around with me. Like, do you know, that kind of way. Like, I was that child. Like, and I was really, like,
Jesus Christ, want to swap seats now?
But I was a very angry child growing up. Like, do you know what I mean? I was angry. Like,
Do you think that it was probably because that you had undiagnosed ADHD and maybe you were just behaving like a child with ADHD behaves, but because it was undiagnosed, they just seen it as bold behaviour, and maybe you were frustrated or something, you know?
Like the whole time growing up, part of me being angry, like I was very angry, like very angry, like, do you know what I mean? I was angry at my mum and dad. Like, I was a kind of person, like, I don't know you, I don't want to get to know you, like, do you know what I mean? I don't, like, that was me, like. But I feel like one of the reasons, like, because there was things going on in my head, you know, with the ADHD, I couldn't concentrate, and I was wondering, like, why can't I concentrate? Like, why am I like this? Like, do you know what I mean? I can't, like, I'd read something and I'd forget about it 2 minutes later, like, do you get me? Or like something, like if I was watching a series now or something, I'd have to go back and watch the episode again because I'd have to forget it, like, do you know what I mean? I was kind of thinking to myself all the time, like, on a daily basis, like, why am I like this, like, do you know what I mean? What's wrong with me? Like, I didn't know what was wrong with me, like, until I went to the HSE then. When I was 18, I went to the HSE, and that's when the fellow up there then was like, yeah, you definitely have it, like, do you know what I mean? And he said,
diagnosed then. That helped you then to
it was a bit of relief, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that kind of explains, like, do you know what I mean? I never even thought I had ADHD or not, like, do you know what I mean? I didn't really know, like, but...
You know, when you were angry, when you were younger, did it keep you isolated? Did it stop you from having good friendships and stuff like that? Did it cause trouble for you at home?
Like, I was angry growing up, but you know what I mean? Like, another reason that kind of, like, I grew up in a household with severe depression. Like, do you know what I mean? My mother suffers from bad depression. Like, she's better now, thank God. Like, but she used to be very, very bad growing up, man. It broke me. Like, do you know what I mean? Seeing the person you love the most just fucking coming to pieces in front of you at a young age, man. It fucking fucked me up. Like, do you know what I mean? And that made me even more angry then. Do you know what I mean? I was just angry at the world, like, growing up.
You probably didn't understand what was going on for your mum either. Do you know?
Sure, I mean, like, you can't help, like, you're so young. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't do nothing. I just had to watch her, like.
Yeah. there's everybody's suffering, really. Like, you know, your mother. I went through the same. My mother suffered from depression as well, and she ended up taking her own life over depression, from suicide as well over depression. So I can completely relate to it. And looking at somebody that you care about, just not doing well, it's sad, like, you know. So I can understand where you're coming from, and it makes people angry. It can make you angry too. And I was very angry growing up as well. I was a very angry, and James knows where I'm coming from. I was a very, very angry child, you know. And the reason I was angry is because I wanted to keep people at a distance. You know, I needed to keep them away because I didn't want to be hurt by people, you know. So I can understand exactly where you are. You know what I mean? And like, from where the drugs come into? Did drugs come into your life then as a kind of soothe, or as something to help you out with the emotional stuff that was going on for you, the pain you were feeling, or anything like that?
Like, growing up, I was kind of addicted. Like, I wanted that bad life. Like, do you know what I mean? I want to be a bad part. Like, do you know what I mean? I wanted that kind of, like, to be like a scumbag. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it sounds stupid, like, but I wanted people to look at me like I was this tough fella. Like, do you know what I mean? And I was far from it. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, in about first year, sixth class, like, after school, I used to go in town and I used to be robbing, drinking stuff, like, and stupid shit. Like, do you know what I mean? Going robbing shit, like, and that, like, all this kind of stuff I was doing growing up was only. Like, imagine, you know, my mum was already bad as it is, like, and all this shit, like in primary school now, my mum and dad would be getting called up to the school now every second week. I had to come up over shit I've done, like, and it just, like, like, that was just even put more stress on my mother then, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you weren't a bad young fella, and neither was Timmy. Do you know what I mean? And I tell you now, you're like very similar stories you have.
Yeah,
but like,
and I can see myself a lot in you.
Yeah.
Do you know, like,
but do you know what Timmy will tell you? Do you know that that image that you were trying to create of being tough, being strong, being aggressive, that's all masking a hurt, angry person inside. Do you know what I mean? And that's a defense mechanism. You weren't the bad young fella. This was your way of coping with what was going on in your head at the time. Do you know what I mean? And that was your survival mechanism to get through that time. And you did get through it. It was just hard at the time. Do you know what I mean? And maybe teachers and people that didn't know better saying, "Oh, he's bold, detention, suspended, you know, meetings and all these things," caused a lot of conflict for you. Like, but you weren't a bad young fella. Do you know what I mean? And now we can see how good you actually are, and you had to come through that, you know. But I'd say it wasn't easy at the same time. It caused a lot of trouble for you at home.
It definitely did. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, growing up, like, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad at all. Like, do you know what I mean? It was very bad. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because I made life very hard for my dad. Like, looking back, I know I hated my dad growing up. Like, well, me and my dad get on very grand now. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, growing up, like, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad at all. Like, he didn't like me, I say. Like, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't blame him. Like, not trying to
I know.
My dad, no, like, trying to talk in his name or anything. Do you know what I mean? Not trying to say anything bad about that. Like, but I have to say, now, obviously he liked me, but he was just, it was making him very angry as well.
I suppose
the way I was growing up,
looking
like,
at you, hurting yourself. Do you know what I mean? And he was getting angry because he could see you going through pain, and he probably couldn't understand. He didn't know what to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know? I don't think he hated you or disliked you.
I didn't know. I didn't say that.
I say he was just going off his
He was just angry because he wants, a parent always wants the best for their child.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Always. And when they see their child struggling in any way, you know, it does upset them, because I tell you, right, we all have it. I have it myself at home. I have 2 kids as well, and sometimes I can get a little bit angry with my kids because of some of their behaviours. It doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it can come across to a child then in a different way. Do you know? Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, you are totally.
You know?
And like do you know, you can imagine, like, I didn't have a great relationship with people in my family growing up too, but you can imagine what it's like for them to see their son or sibling destroying themselves and you know, putting their whole future in jeopardy by the behaviours that they have. You know what I mean? And like, no matter what they say to you, we're continuing doing what we're going to do. Eventually, it's going to cause conflict for you, and, you know. But it's great to hear that you have a good relationship with him today.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, like, yeah. The first drugs like was, do you know what I mean? Would have been smoking fags and stuff. Now at about 12, like, do you know what I mean? And just people hand you smokes off fags, you just smoke away. Like, then it was onto weed. Then about 12, 13. Then the 14. Then was when I got addicted to drugs. Then like, so it was ecstasy. Like, going out buzzing, like that was the thing back then. Like, do you know what I mean? That was, it was, everyone was doing it. Like, do you know what I mean? So it was normal. Like, it was a normal thing to do. Like, do you know what I mean? You go buzzing. Like my mum, like my mum was on the illness benefit. Like, do you know what I mean? So over the depression, she can't work or nothing. Like, so she was giving me about 3 hours a day. Like, and I was saving that up. Like, I was starving myself every day. Like, do you know what I mean? I was starving myself every day by to save about 20 hours for the weekend to get 3 oaks. Like, for the Friday and Saturday. Like.
There was the Oaks period. I remember when I was about the same age, about 14 or 15, and I just started taking these for the first time, you know. And I used to go out robbing during the night, you know, go 2 3. I'd be buzzing on my forehead now out robbing. I'd go to bed after dropping 2 or 3 E's, and I'd get up during the night, and I'd start robbing, and the next day I'd have something then to go in and buy more E's. Then for the next day, I must have went. No lie, no, right? I must have went that for 6 months. I loved them so much because E's gave me a feeling of love, something that I'd never experienced before.
It's a different feeling, I think.
But you know, the anger that you talk about, the frustration and all this hostility, negative emotions in you. When you take an E, that's all gone, and it's about love and, you know, friendship and being around your friends and your all, you know, camaraderie and all that. It's not even going back there, no fucking thinking about it. Like, but E's, we take E's like that because they actually work. They work for a period of time, and you know, the drug in an ecstasy tablet is called MDMA, and MDMA is actually used to treat depression and anxiety and stuff like that. In trials at the moment, I need to do some research on that.
I've seen that on the internet, very, very small doses of it.
Yeah.
I did see that on the internet.
Yeah, they're not people going around with their jaws up around their ears, you know what I mean? There's only like, fuck the depression, boys, you know, but they use MDMA, or it can be used to treat, you know, and another psychoactive substances.
Psilocybin, I think, do you know, that's the stuff that's in magic mushrooms, trip acid, that stuff there, and ketamine, believe it or not. Ketamine is actually, they're using it in tests as well to treat people. It's very small doses. They treat them for depression and stuff like that. And it seems to be working an awful lot.
If anybody knows an expert on any of that stuff, that would know anybody that would like to come on, tell them, come on. You know what I mean? Give us a shout. But anyway, we go back to Cian. So you take an ecstasy with your friends. What way was your relationship with your friends at the time? Was your friends similar situation to yourselves? Was there any antisocial behaviour or guards, or were you just kind of doing your own thing?
100%, 100%, like, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't say all of them, like, but there was definitely 2 or 3 of us, like, that were always getting in trouble constantly, like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, the ecstasy was the first thing. And then 15, 16, 17, then was sweets, like, do you know what I mean? That's then when I really started going downhill, like, do you know what I mean? That's when kind of, like, when I started doing bad shit, like, do you know what I mean?
The sweets, benzos, is it all purple hearts, Johns and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Bead hens and all that.
The whole lot of them, Tim.
It was about 14, like, when I first took sweets as well. But I remember there one day, I was after taking them, I was outside, like, do you know what I mean? I was about 15, like, and I came home then and I was searching through the cupboards, like, do you know what I mean? Looking for shit, like, and do you know, tramadol, the green and yellow things. Yeah. I swallowed about 20, 30 of them when I woke up in the hospital bed then, like, do you know what I mean? A lot of shit strapped to my chest and everything, like, and do you know, that was... that should have been an eye-opener for me, but I wasn't. Like,
they're a bad tablet. They're not a benzo, they're a synthetic opiate. They're like, for people, tramadol is like for people that are allergic to codeine. They take tramadol instead, you know, instead of a salperidol or something. But they're actually a disgusting tablet, and I took them before. They'd upset your stomach, and they just make you feel like shit. So if you take a lot of them when you're not used to them, opiates are very dangerous if you're not used to taking opiates. Do you know what I mean? You go overdose like that, and you ended up in hospital.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't really remember, like, it was about 4 years ago, like, but I just remember it happening. Do you get me? Like, that's that's when I started going bad, like, and I started getting addicted to the tablets then, because, like, growing up, like, I suffered from a lot of shit, like, do you know what I mean? And, like, it's like when I took the sweets, you're so out of your head, you don't know what's going on, there's nothing in your mind, like, do you know what I mean? You're not thinking of anything, like.
It stops everything. There's no thought. It's just that kind of
relief.
There's not even thinking, like, the mind thought, like, do you know what I mean? You
thought,
can't even think of what you're doing, like.
You don't give a fuck.
You don't give a shit
just
about
relaxed.
anything.
You
like,
just
know what I
feel
mean?
so relaxed. And you can imagine why people get addicted to these tablets. It's only normal. You're going to be chasing that feeling. If you're going to feel pure, chilled, and I wouldn't say in love with yourself, but not hating yourself or giving yourself shit with your self-critic that you're bad or you're no good or you're the worst, you know?
Yeah.
And you're just relaxed. You're obviously going to chase that exact feeling the next day and the next day and the next day.
And if you're already half mad, young fella, and you're taking tablets, when you take benzos like that, the Valium and D10s and Purple Hearts and all them type of things, all of a sudden now you don't give a fuck, and nothing matters. And next somebody says to you, "Mum, we go over and take that car. Mum, we go in and rob that shop." You don't care, and you end up, you just do it, like, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, growing up taking them, like, I wouldn't say I was a happy child growing up, like, do you know what I mean? Growing up with my mum and shit, like, it kind of affected me, it kind of grew on me, like, do you know what I mean? Being in the house growing up, I was kind of depressed then, like, do you know what I mean? I was depressed, like, and taking these weren't helping at all, like, do you know what I mean? Like, that feeling of not giving a fuck when I was out of my head, like, I had that feeling when I was sober then as well, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't give a shit about anything, like, do you know what I mean? I didn't give a shit about life, I didn't care about my mum and dad, I didn't care about anything, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I was very bad depressed, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I was in counselling since about 13, 14 and all the way up to about 17, 18, like, everyone in Cork I've been to, like, you know, I've been to private ones, I've been to psychologists, everything, like. Like, I used to go to sleep, like, do you know, like, I say, I'm depressed, do you know what I mean? I don't want to live with all this shit, like, but I never would have actually killed myself, do you know what I mean? I was a coward, like, do you know what I mean? I never would have acted on it, like, do you know what I mean? I go to sleep every night saying, I hope I don't wake up the next morning, like, do you know what I mean? But I never would actually put a rope around my neck or anything like that, like, do you know what I mean? That's just the way I was, like, I was just a coward, to be honest, by saying this shit to upset my family, like, do you know what I mean?
It's a very sad thought, though, to think that there's people, and I've been in that situation, that's suicidal ideation, where you're up in your head and you're fantasising about, I want to be dead and I do this with that, but not actually acting on it. But that's a horrible existence to be in.
I've actually never heard anyone speak about my own story like yourself. Like, your story is so similar to mine, like, believe it or not, because the James would know my story. Like, we grew up with no father in the household as well, and me and two other brothers, and my mother, she had her own issues or whatever. And when you're living, say for a child, when they're living in a household with somebody that suffers from depression, right, there's no one ever at fault, and I'll just tell you that now. The person that's suffering is suffering, they don't even understand, it's completely unconscious. But the energy that's there, you know, you said it there, you felt depressed as well because you were around somebody that was depressed so long. That's actually passed on to us. You know, it's an energy, you know, and we'll start feeling the same way they feel. I feel my mother's stuff, you know what I mean? I feel times I get depressed, really, really depressed, and it's only through meditation that I have really, really changed my life. You know what I mean? I'm able to, I have a little bit more awareness that I can catch these suicidal thoughts.
Yeah,
and I do have I do have suicidal thoughts.
You kind of realise they're there and you're like, this is only a thought, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all it is. It's a thought, and these feelings that I'm no good, that I'm unworthy, you know, that I'm bad, you know, I don't deserve this, I don't deserve that. I still have all those thoughts and feelings, you know. And you know what that does for me? It helps me to understand how my mother felt and why she took her own life. You know, that's and I have so much empathy and compassion for my mother because of my own pain, the way I feel my own pain. Does that make sense? 100%. You know? So, there's like somebody that's really, really sick on depression and anxiety. They just don't understand what's going on. You know, they're sick, and it's a really, really strong feeling of hopelessness, or that every day is going to be the same the rest of your life, and how can I live like this for the rest of my life?
It just seems hopeless, like.
You know.
So, and that was a dark place you were in.
Yeah, but to be honest, like I was been in a very dark place just before the show. Like the show is what changed me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I've been in a very dark place.
I seen from your Instagram you were a good friend that died.
He was my best buddies growing up. Yeah.
What was his name?
Like he would have been the one, Michael Cornock. Yeah, he would have been the ones now, Joe, buzzing. Like we were like that was our thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Going buzzing. Like, but I hung around with him right for years. Like, yeah.
Did that have a big impact on you?
Like I was already angry. Like, do you know what I mean? I was already an angry person. I wouldn't say I was happy. Like, do you know what I mean? And then when he died, then I was like, fucking hell. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. I didn't know about it. That was it then, like, do you know what I mean? I was like, fucking hell, like, what's next, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
sounds like you were really on the verge of going down a massively fucking dark path, like, until before the show, like, you know.
Like, I was with him the night before he died, like, do you know what I mean? I took the drug that he died from, like, like, it was the first time that drug was ever recorded in Ireland, like, do you know what I mean? We thought we were getting coke, but it wasn't, like, it was the same drug that Prince died from.
Fentanyl?
It was U4, it was called. U4, that's what it said. It was called in an echo or something, Joe, when they did the test on it or whatever, do you know what I mean? But I remember taking it, Joe, we took a line of it, whatever. Joe, coke, then I was supposed to get a whack off, like, Joe, I'd be up, like. Yeah. I took a few lines of this by and I was getting sick all over the place, like, do you know what I mean? I was fucking falling into bushes and everything, like, and he didn't take it that night. About 2 days later, then we were all out. And we were all down the lock. We were just sitting outside, you know, chatting, whatever. I went home, him and another one of the boys got up and got a bag of it. And he actually texted me that night. He sent me on a song. It was a buzzing song. Like, you know the songs we listened to for buzzing, we'd always send on each other songs, like, this next time you're buzzing, like. So just the tunes, like, and I was like, it was a good song, like. Just texting back, whatever. And then I went to school the next day down St. Kevin's. Do you know St. Kevin's? I was down St. Kevin's. And then my buddy came in, he was like his nickname was Connacht, so over his second name, Connacht, like, he was like, Connacht is dead, boy. Like, what do you mean, boy? He was like, he's dead, like. And I was like, fucking hell. Went up to his estate then, and you see the body bag and shit then, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fucking tragic, boy. And you know what? It just goes to show as well, like, you know, when you're taking a drug, you don't know what the fuck is in it. You actually don't know what's in it. And you could be told it's coke, you could be told it's this, that and the other. But you're putting the trust of your life in a fucking drug dealer's hands at the end of the day, like.
Do you know what, Cian, boy? You know, like, you've gone through so much, do you know what I mean? Lost friends and all these different things, like, you're going to come out of this, like, trust me, just keep working on yourself. Keep working on it. You're going to come out of this, like, and I guarantee you this, you're going to be a strong man.
Not today, man. I'm very happy with myself. You know what I mean? I'm very happy and positive and shit, like. I'm very grateful and happy, like. I wake up every day happy, like.
Yeah,
that's it for me, like, do you know what I mean? That's like, I spend too much fucking time growing up being angry by it. Like, my family be over my gaff, like, and I just go into the other room and I wouldn't even talk to them, like, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have the confidence to go in and talk to my own family, like. And like, I'd go for days without talking to my mum and dad, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'd just wake up, walk straight past them, like, making food, even in the kitchen, talking to people, like, just looking at them, like, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't even talk to them, like, and for now to be able to fucking talk to my mum and dad, by just, like, 2 days ago now, was it yesterday? My cousin called over with his newborn child, like, do you know what I mean? And I was just able to sit down and have a good conversation for an hour or two, like, and if he said to me, it was like talking to a new man, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You've matured a lot in the last few months, in the last year or so. But you know, when your friend died, what year was that?
2016. He was 16, I was 15.
And for the few years after that, what was that like? Did you continue with the drugs?
That should have been a wake-up call, like, do you know what I mean? I wasn't, like, there wasn't, like, at all, like, that's when then the sweets started getting really bad, because, like, I was having these fucked up dreams, and he was in my dreams talking to me and shit, like, do you know what I mean? It was just scary, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, like, do you know what I mean? So I just started swallowing tablets all day, every day, like, and
It sounds like there was a haze there for a while, then you were just kind of fucking probably...
You've a lot to block out.
I was very angry by, do you know what I mean? I was a very, very angry man, like, I was very angry, like there was fucked up shit going through my head, man, do you know what I mean? There was, like, and I was scared, like, like I got to the point where I was in my gaff, and I was crying to my mum. I was like, I think I'm going psycho, like, do you know what I mean? I was crying, like, I was like, I feel like I'm going to do something bad, like, do you know what I mean? Saying to my cousin Nicola, you know, she's like a second mum to me growing up, like, and she's like, she wanted me to go up to the hospital to get checked in, and she wanted me to get checked in, just to see if I was alright, like, because I honestly thought I was just going to kill someone. That's how I felt, like, you know, I wanted to kill someone, like, I just felt like if I just released my anger out on someone, I wanted to release my anger out on someone, like, do you know what I mean? That's what I wanted to do, like, that's how bad I got, like, I thought I was going psychotic, but that's not even a joke, like, do you know what I mean?
How did you get through that time? Sorry, Tim.
Yeah. How does it feel talking about... Sorry, James. Sorry. What I was going to say is, how does it feel talking about that stuff? No, like, you know...
It's crazy, but you know what I mean, like...
Because I can relate to everything you're talking about, because I would have been very angry as well at a young age like that, and it, like... my wife always says to me, like, about kids, and I could never see myself being married, having kids, because I was fucking, I had a serious attitude problem towards all the adults and stuff in my life, and I thought I was going to fucking end up doing life as well for harming someone, or else that I was going to be murdered, or else probably just dead through suicide, like, but, you know, it's fucking... I'm just sitting here and I'm listening to you, like, and I can relate to so much of your stuff, truthfully, you know, and to see it now after getting where you are now at the age of 19.
It's a young age to be saying all this shit, like, do you know what I mean? It's mad, man.
Whatever it is, boy, you're after getting it at a young age. Do you know, I had a friend died, who I won't name just because, do you know, I was in prison, I was about 18 or 19, and I got a visit from my cousin saying, one of the boys is after being found dead at home, you know, drugs and all like that, like accidental overdose. And I remember going to the funeral, and I said a prayer, I said a prayer on the altar, you know, and showed her the coffin, things like that. And I remember being very upset about it, but not one thought to come into my head to think, like, I'm going to have to stop taking drugs. Never come into my head, do you know what I mean?
It wasn't an option, like, it wasn't, like seeing him in a coffin, I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't know, like, going up and seeing it, I didn't even think I was going to be able to go in, like, do you know what I mean? But going in and seeing it then, like...
Yeah, and he was such a young fella, like, he was just...
I was 15, like, do you know what I mean? And that was one of my best buddies, like, and I didn't know what way to react, I didn't know what to do with myself afterwards, like, do you know what I mean? I was a mess, like we all were, like, do you know what I mean? There's a group of us, and we just, like, growing up, like, we were big into drugs, we didn't know anything else, like, do you know what I mean? It was just go out, smoke weed, take tablets, do this, like, the tablets didn't really come in bad, like, but it was just smoking a lot of weed and yokes, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, we thought we were immortal, like, do you know what I mean? We never thought we'd die, like, do you know what I mean?
No.
And, like, we hang around with the older lads, do you know, 3 years older, and us used to say, like, you know, if you keep carrying on the way you are, like, I can see one of you packing in, like, so, where am I fuck, like, do you know what I mean?
I know.
And he packed in then, like, do you know what I mean?
I know. But we can relate with that too, like, you know, fucking being a young fella like that, drinking drugs, driving down roads and cars with the lights turned off, and, you know, mad stuff, like, very risky behaviours, like, where people were ending up in hospital and people were dying, people were getting stabbed, people were getting broke up, and just fucking see no sense in it, like.
No, we didn't. You probably don't see... I literally had no concept of life. I didn't know. I had no understanding. I had no awareness whatsoever. You know, I was just so caught up in my own shit. About all I ever cared about was the next time I got stoned or drunk or whatever. Everything else just didn't fucking matter. Do you know? It wasn't until I stopped that I realised, what the fuck is going on here? Who am I? 31 now, I was 31, I didn't even know who I fucking was, because I was like a child, you know, growing up in a man's body, the mentality of a child, and I carrying on, I fucking involved in all forms of crime, you know, fighting fucking constantly fighting, and you know, it was just, and the drug taking and gambling and all these different things, like these were all things to take me away from all these emotions, all these feelings that I couldn't handle. Not just the gambling's another thing, not just drugs, all these different things, you know, fucking like, and I personally, right, probably wouldn't have been able to do what you're doing now, and like straight up, like, you're a strong young fella, like.
I appreciate it, but thanks.
You are a strong young fella, like fucking. And
physically and emotionally.
yeah, physically, I would have been very similarly built as well, because I was 19 when I came back from France, and that's all I was doing over there was working on a farm, believe it or not, feeding fucking calves and pigs. And I used to have these massive buckets up on top of my shoulders, and I used to be making the fences with these big posts, and I'd fucking be on a sledgehammer for half the day, and I'd be carrying these big bins then to feed the animals there. And I was a big, strong young fella. Like, when I came home from France, then I started using the gym and stuff like that, you know. But Cian, by your story, like, is going to help a lot of people. We spoke before the show, didn't we, James?
Yeah.
About how important a young person stories regarding alcohol and drugs, you know, because we've said it before that all the young people think they're too young to give up drugs and alcohol, because their lives will be over. You know, they can't see a happy end after, because the drink and drugs give us such a warm, loving feeling and block out the reality of all the pain and the emotions and stuff. But like, to see somebody like you, I think it's very important as well to mention the services that are there to help, that have helped you to kind of to understand what's going on for you a little bit.
I've been in counselling from a young age, like, do you know what I mean? But growing up, I'd very, like, paranoia was another thing I had, like, do you know what I mean? I'd be afraid to walk around my own neighbourhood, like, do you know what I mean? Well, I used to do it, like, so I was out my head drugs, like, do you know what I mean? But if I didn't have drugs, I wouldn't leave my gaff, like, do you know what I mean? I find it hard to leave my gaff, like. Looking over my shoulder, boy, if I hear a car drive up behind me, boy, I think a fella feels are going to jump out and start batting me, like, do you know what I mean? That's just, I was a wreck, like.
But you know, on that point, right, I used to be like that too. And you know, even to this day, I could be walking down the road, and I spoke about this with Timmy before, because he's like that. I could be walking down the road now, 35-year-old man that didn't touch a drink or a drug for the last nearly 8 years, right? And I have this vision in my head of somebody coming up behind me, whacking me out of it with a bat, or somebody, you know, if I'm walking the dogs down, it could be in Fitzgerald's Park, could be anywhere. And I always kind of have this, you know, it's always in the back of my head that somebody's going to hit you a snaky slap or something.
I didn't mean to laugh, no, but I just relate to it so much.
Yeah, and like, you know, if I'm passing, I still have this, and we spoke about this too, you know, if I'm passing the guards in the car, I just have an automatic feeling that they're just going to turn the car around and start chasing me and pull me over as well. And I haven't been near drugs or anything like that in fucking nearly 10 years.
I think,
do you know?
I think one explanation for it, and I could be wrong, but you know, when you're in a situation where there's violence being inflicted upon you, and you're getting the belts and stuff, and I've been in that situation, we all have. That's such a fundamental part of your survival, to keep yourself safe from violence like that, because you have, if you're going to keep yourself safe from violence, death is you're going to die. You know what I mean? So the brain is hardwired to be on. If you've experienced a situation where you've got snaky slaps, stabbed, belts, bars, stuff like that, your brain will remember that, and that amygdala, that fucking fight and flight part of that is on high alert. You mightn't be aware of anything, but that's always it's going to keep you safe, because in the past you've had snaky slaps and you've had belts of bars and stabbings and stuff like that. But I think that's always going to be in us, you know. But that'll keep you safe, and it'll keep me safe. Yeah,
it's your ego protecting you, but it's your environment as well as making you feel like that. You know, and it's ingrained. Like, we live that lifestyle. We live the life of drinking cans on the lane, drinking cans around the streets, and you know, that kind of environment is fight or flight. You're constantly fight or flight, because you don't know who's going to be around, who's stoned, who's too drunk, and you're constantly kind of conscious, watching yourself. You know, back to the wall kind of thing.
Sorry, go on.
But like, you made a very important point, and a lot of people are going to relate to that.
Yeah.
That. Like, you constantly think someone's going to come up behind you, pull up. I used to think someone was going to pull up and shoot me. At one stage, it was very possibly going to happen, you know, but that's how I felt. But I carried that feeling then into my recovery as well.
Yeah.
Like James said there, you know, what were you going to say?
Like, I've been outside my local shipper, like, and I was standing there one day, like, and I was just standing there, and a fella comes up, have you any knowledge there, boys? No, I've nothing. Alright, so pulled down his jack, whipped out a hammer, swung me with the hammer. This is outside 2-minute walk from my front door, like, you know what I mean? I was just standing there where I hang around every day, like, and the fella whipped out a hammer, tried to chase me. You know, I took on, like, I took on down the road. By next thing I hear, the car coming on after me. I was saying, "Oh boys, I'm done." And then he jumped out of the car, started chasing around the guy for a hammer, and he was over his head, obviously, and probably heroin or something, like, so I mean, so I just fucking. They got into my nan's gaff and he was safe and sound, but I was fucking shit my pants to do my gaff for the night, like, you know what I mean? In my head I thought the fella was waiting around the corner for me to whack me out. Like,
but your brain remembers that, and your brain knows if your brain doesn't keep you safe in that situation, you're dead. And that's why we have that in us, you know what I mean? Your brain is always on alert, and I don't know if it's the environment. I don't know if I was skipping through a fucking field full of daisies, whistling Dixie with me dogs, would I still be looking over my shoulder with some female hammer, you know what I mean?
Not if you were full of ecstasy, James.
I know, I can turn around and mug.
It's just the feeling, though, like, you know, if you're on holidays with your family or something, that's not there, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not there.
So maybe the environment is a big part of it, so, like. So, look, we'll move on a bit, so. You went on to the TV show, or I suppose the recruitment for the TV show. Maybe if you tell us a little about your kind of what kind of a place you were emotionally before Mick gave you the call to come on the TV show, or just before the TV show started.
Like, I was always thinking about my past, like, you know what I mean? I would not spend 1 second of my day thinking about the future, like, what am I going to work as, like, you know what I mean? I didn't give a shit, like, you know what I mean? I didn't care about my future, like, at all, like, I didn't care about anyone, like, I didn't care about myself, like I was always thinking about my future, like, you know what I mean? The things that happen and stuff, and it was breaking me down by day, like, you know what I mean? It was breaking me down, like, and Mick said it to me then, he was like, I can get you an interview for this, like. And I was the kind of person, and I was like, oh, fucking, I'm not doing that shit at all, like, you know what I mean? That's the kind of person I was. I wasn't up for doing anything, I just wanted to be left alone, like. Then Katie Burns, then a teacher there, not a teacher, she's kind of, I forget the
psychiatrist or psychologist?
No, she works in the school. Works in the school. She's
maybe doing Mick's old job, probably, is she?
Yeah, something like that.
School completion, I think.
Yeah.
To help people get.
And she was like, do it for Michael, like, you know, like, do for your
buddy.
Do it for Michael. I was like, fuck, I can't say no now, like, you have to do it now, like.
Yeah.
I went down for the interview anyway, and there was this one recording me with an iPad. She's just talk away into it from your life growing up, like, do you know what I mean? Because that's what they're trying to get fellas, what hard life growing up, like, trying to make it better from. And I started to talk about my life growing up, and no one started crying, like, do you know what I mean? I was recording it, like, and for some reason I kind of had a feeling I was getting it then, like, do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I actually kind of hope I get this now, like, cause.
Imagine that. Imagine getting a job opportunity because of how hard difficult your life was, you know? You know, does that make sense?
That's the kind of thing, like, do you know what I mean? Everything happens for a reason, you know, that kind of way. Like,
Yeah,
like if I didn't go through that life, I wouldn't have got on the show and I wouldn't be the person I am today, like, you know, that kind of way. That's the way I think of it, like.
Sort of last year, in January last year, I was on the Tommy Tiernan show. And they asked me, I said it before, so I won't go into it now, but they asked me in 2018, and I said no. And then they asked me again in 2019, I said yes, and then I went on it. And because I was thinking, like, what the fuck do they want to talk to me about? You know what I mean? You know, similar story now to yourself. Drugs and crime and violence and madness, like, you know. But you know what, people want to hear the stories of people coming through adversity and that. And I think that taking that risk of going on the television and going public, like what you did and what you're doing right now, that's a healthy risk. Because it's a safe place to do it, because they're going to mind you, and you know, obviously we have you in here where we have the right motivation. We're not here trying to expose you, we're here trying to, so you can give your story to help others. But a lot of good has come out of that Tommy Tiernan show, including this podcast and a load of other things that has happened for me, and a lot of good things will come for you too out of doing that, because you come across, and all the lads on the show, you came across so well, and it was a window into what it's like for young men this day and age, you know what I mean? What it's like for 16 to 19-year-olds that we might think as, oh, they're only scumbags and losers and dasters and stuff like that. No, they're not actually. They're actually brothers and sons, and some of them are very vulnerable and some of them are very hurt. You know, and it just goes to show, like, the role that teachers play, school completion officers, youth workers, and all these other people play, or I suppose the task they have to deal with these young fellas and help them manage those years of 15 to 19, because they're the hardest years to get through, like, you know. So you got accepted onto the show.
Yeah, I went for that interview. Then I got the call in from the producers saying you got through to the second interview there, to go down to Dublin for the interview. Like, Katie actually brought me down, went on the train. And I was just talking to the producer crew, like, you know what I mean? And they were chatting away, like, and actually I got a call in about 2 weeks later, like, yeah, you got it, like, you know what I mean? I was like, but like, I wasn't even happy about it. I couldn't be happy, like, you know what I mean? I just felt like I had nothing to be happy about by it, you know what I mean? I was just that kind of person. My negativity was all I knew, like, I didn't know nothing else, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, just on the phone, like, even all the producers say to me, like, you know, when I used to be on the phone, it's like, yeah, no, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
That's like that too. I never got excited over nothing.
Like,
never. Do you know, never got excited, always.
Like, so yeah, you're going to be on TV going to Mount Everest. Yeah, right. Do you know what I mean? Like,
there's
anyone else, yeah, they probably fucking jumping up and down or something. Like, you know what I mean? But I was like, yeah, alright, yeah. And then the first trip we went away, then met all the lads, like, do you know what I mean? And just being away from my own place, by where I don't like where I live, like, do you know what I mean? It's just growing up by the people, like, and like, I just don't like it, like, do you know what I mean? I just prefer it. Like, you know, like, I don't know.
Do you know what, now when you're talking like that, and I'll come in there and give you a chance, I think in the book that we spoke about before to me, there's a book there you might be interested in, it's called Chasing the Scream. And in that he's talking about this research, this psychologist guy done with rats. And it was about when it was basically the rats are addicted to cocaine. They gives the rats coke and heroin and stuff like that. And the rats are living in cages, right? When you take the rat out of the shitty cage and put the rat into a beautiful cage with a decent wheel to run around, the best of food, little plants, little female rats, you know,
nice friendly environment.
Put that addicted rat into a nice environment and put the coke there. This water, now was cocaine in it and drugs. The other one is just water, right? In this shitty environment, the rat will take the cocaine water until he dies, right? When you put the rat into the nicer cage with the decent female rat and the decent wheel and the whole lot and the popcorn and everything, that rat doesn't want to take the cocaine water anymore. Why? Because his environment changed. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of what you're talking about there. When you're taken out of that environment where you're from into a nice environment, with a safe environment with other nice fellas, it was better.
100%. That's 100. That analogy, that description of it is 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. So Davy's toughest team was like Rat Park.
But just being out of my place, by it was just negativity. By it's not. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a bad place to live. Like, there's a lot of nice people living there, 100%. Like, do you know what I mean? Just the people my age, by just into drugs and drink, like, and
that's a good point to make. Like,
do you know what I mean?
There
is nice people living there. Ballyfann's not a bad place. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like.
It's
probably arguable.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? You're in a different headspace, right? And you're trying to progress in your life, you know, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, and that kind of lifestyle doesn't fit with you anymore. And that's okay to feel the way you do, because anybody that gets into recovery, they feel the exact same way after a while, because if they're still in, like, for instance, this is just a quick example. If someone's in recovery inside in prison, right, and they're getting all the help they need, they're going to meetings, right, then they go out, they leave prison, and they're put back into that environment that they left before they went into prison, where they were still caught up in addiction and crime or whatever. Like, they're going to get caught up in it again. Yeah. It's going to happen, you know. It's going to happen, but if you go into a different new environment, it's changed, like.
But even myself and Timmy we would have went to residential treatment, and we would have been out of the community for a period of time to get yourself together. And I remember, you know, I went to treatment, and when I came out of treatment, I went to my aftercare house out in Wilton, south side, the quiet little area. And I remember kind of feeling guilty like that. I was leaving people behind me up there and stuff like that. But there's nothing wrong with the community where we're from, Hollyhill and Knocknaheeny. just there was a lot of bad memories there, and you know, I'd say there was a lot of bad memories in Ballyphehane for you. Ballyphehane is fine, it's just a lot of memories there for you. You needed to be taken out of it for a period of time, to know, to come to terms with it and to work through some shit to go back into there. Now, you know, you're the shining light of Ballyphehane, and Ballyphehane should be proud of you, and you're going to go back into Ballyphehane, and you're going to be like, you're going to be seen as a leader there now, and people will say, do you know what, pick up the phone to Cian or text Cian on Facebook. There, you're going to help a lot of people.
Anyone watching this, don't hesitate to text me. Like, do you know what I mean? This is what I'm doing in my life now. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People help me, like, and I want to help people by 100%. Like,
And you
like,
will.
I will. Like, do you know what I mean? That's why I'm putting up I do my bits now on Instagram. I'm putting up my videos. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I get to that in a minute, like, but I suppose
Yeah.
talk about the show first.
So Davy's toughest, so for people that didn't see the show, Davy's toughest young, it's not Davy's toughest young fellas, Davy's toughest team is Davy Fitzgerald, the GA coach. He has a reputation for being fiery and tough, you know, but he takes a gang of young fellas from around Ireland, and the plan was to go to Mount Everest base camp as a kind of personal development type of a thing. But COVID hit, and then he ended up doing Caron Tool. Tell us a little bit about the show and what it was like living with the lads.
Like, when I went on it, like, I was like, my confidence was at zero. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even talk to the other fellas. Like, do you know what I mean? I could barely talk to my mum and dad. But I don't mind these fellas. Like, do you know what I mean? And they're all Dublin fellas now and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Big characters. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, bouncing around the gaff talking all day and like not a bother with them. Like.
Yeah.
And then that was me. Then, like, do you know, fucking like.
You were quiet, like.
I was quiet, like, do you know what I mean? I was just to myself, but as I said, I don't know you, I don't want to know you, like, that was me, like. But after a while, when you're around these people that are so similar to, like, do you know what I mean? We were so similar, but we were so different, do you get me?
Yeah.
Like, we were all, had our tough times growing up, but we were all on here wanting to make a difference, like, and, like, you could just feel the positivity in the air around us, it was like, yeah, this is it for me, but like, this is what I needed, like, do you know what I mean? Then I started realising, I was like, this is me, like, do you know what I mean? This positive shit, this is...
Yeah.
Was
there any of the lads that you really clicked with?
Like, on the first week we were away in Wicklow in the mountains, me and Connor shared a room, and we'd have chats at night and stuff like that, like, and me and Connor really clicked, like, do you know what I mean? We had a lot in common, like, and we got on very fast. So, like, Connor had a big impact on me, man, do you know what I mean? He did, like, he helped me I appreciate him, like, you know, talking to me about treatment. Like, I went home after the first week in Wicklow, and I was cleaning my bed, I was fucking washing my dishes and shit and everything, I felt, you know, and I'd never do that, like, you know, that's just kind of, but sooner or again, I was just back to my same old ways then, do you know what I mean? But, yeah.
But look, you know what, you were put into the room with Connor for a reason, and Connor mentored you. We had Connor on the podcast in October, I'd say, in November maybe, and Connor's a very nice young fella. He's very mature for his age, and he has his head screwed on, and he's going to be very successful in life, you know.
100%,
and he was the perfect person for you to go in with, because you just needed somebody like that.
I was lost, man. Do you know what I mean? I was lost, like, I didn't know.
And he was a great young fella to be put in with, you know, so fucking well done, Connor, and I hope you'll keep him well.
Yeah,
it's great,
definitely.
isn't it?
It's fantastic. Do you know, it's, like, in the two of you are well built as well, so you had something in common as well with the training and the food and everything else, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just very happy to be sitting in this chair listening to your story, because and I've never said this before to anybody. Your story is so similar to mine that it actually helps me, because I feel like I'm not my own, because I'm listening to your story and it's so fucking similar to mine. You know, how you felt about yourself. You know, I never thought anybody else felt like that. But listening to you now and knowing where you've came from and, you know, and your background and stuff, I really, really understand you, and I feel everything that you're feeling. Do you know what I mean?
I went into a bit, like, do you know what I mean? There's a lot more shit by, but I don't want to go into that, like.
It's not for the pod.
Shit by, just
done.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of shit, man, I'd rather not get into, like, but just to give you an idea of where I was in life before the show, like, do you know what I mean?
There's a lot of stuff that me and Timmy could go into, but it's not for a podcast, do you know what I mean? That's for your therapist, your counsellor, your closest friend, and some of your family members, you know. You don't keep it bottled in or bottled up, you don't keep it in. You still have to share it, you just don't share it publicly, you know.
Like, people were always trying to help me growing up, like, do you know what I mean? People, like, my family were trying to help me, like, and I was just biting the hand that was helping me, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want help, like, do you know what I mean? I didn't want help, like, going to counsellors, like, they the anxiety I had, like, sitting across counsellors and the anger, like, do you know what I mean? The counsellor would be talking to me and this isn't even a joke, but the only thing I'd be thinking about my head to slap the chair off his head, like, do you know what I mean? That's how angry I was, like, this fella, like, I thinking, is this thing even listening to me, like, do you know what I mean? He's getting paid to listen to me, like, that was going through my head, like, do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, no, I'm sure there's a lot of counsellors out there that are passionate about their job, like, about helping people, but that was just my head. I was like, this cunt didn't even listen to me, like, do you know what I mean?
That's 100% understandable.
Do you know what I mean? I know there's definitely counsellors out there that are passionate
and
about
you know
their
what?
job, like.
Any counsellor that's good, right, that really is a good counsellor listening to this will understand exactly what you're saying and what you're talking about, do you know what I mean? And why you felt that way, you know what I mean? So don't be worried about it.
You know, 'cause you know when tell me a little bit about Davy. What's Davy like?
He's a very nice man, boy. Do you know what I mean? He is, like, he's one of the nicest men I ever met, but I can't thank him enough, like, for what he did for us on the show, like, do you know what I mean? Like I try to put into words how grateful I am, but I can't, like, I can't, boy. Do you know what I mean? I can't, like.
Do you know why I think he was great for that show? Because he's a man's man. He's a tough bastard.
I would have.
And that he demands the respect of the young fellas because he's tough, but he's also very fucking.
He's hearty.
He's hearty, but he is all that like masculine stuff. Do you know what I mean? But he's also a nice fella, respectful, mannerly, soft, sensitive, and he leaves himself vulnerable, and he shows the young people that you can be tough and a man's man and masculine and all that, but you can also have this side here too, and this is okay too, and it helps the lads to open up a little bit. And I think that's where a lot of the growth came from. You were able to leave yourself vulnerable with Davy because you knew you could trust him, you know. And I seen you grow over the episodes, you know what I mean? You've seen you develop, you become more comfortable in your own skin, more confident, and a lot of the lads, you know, they just fucking developed as the show went on, you know what I mean? And there was ups and downs and there was conflicts and stuff like that, but there was a great closeness as well, it seemed on camera anyway. But was there a good closeness amongst the group?
100%, by, do you know what I mean? It's like after the first 2 or 3 days, like, it's like I felt like I know my year, by, do you know what I mean? Like, we got along by like 7 best friends, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, we got along very well, by. Definitely friends I'm going to have for the rest of my life, like, do you know what I mean? I'm going to contact them every day, like.
You're all famous now.
Might do a reunion there in 10 years' time.
I hope there's a season 2, by, to be honest, by. A lot of people are saying on Twitter, like, they want to see season 2 to get us to Everest, by. One can only hope, like,
I don't know why, I fucking hope that happens.
I do, man, I do, honestly, like, do you know what I mean?
If they're looking for a couple of mentors to go on the way, we'll do it,
Yeah, definitely.
You know why it's not harm to have a couple of mentors there to mentor the lads on the slide, you know, informal learning and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm hurling on the base camp Mount Everest.
The shop was back.
Be nice though.
But so what's the plan for you going forward now?
Like, going on that show, like, I felt like a new person, but I could feel myself evolving, like, do you know what I mean? It's like becoming a better person, and I loved it, like, do you know what I mean? I loved it so much, man. I realised now, like, people help me, I want to help people, like, do you know what I mean? I don't want to be a counsellor, like, I don't want to benefit anything out of it, like, do you know, I just want to help people, like, I just want to help people, like, people help me, I want to give back, like, do you know what I mean? It's only right to give back, like, that's why I'm doing the bits now with Instagram and stuff, do you know what I mean? Because, like, like, the amount of people that text me is unbelievable, man, do you know what I mean? Like, I never experienced this, I never had people text me in my life saying, you're good, like, do you know what I mean? You're this, you're that, like, and for the people, like, all around Ireland texting me, like, saying you're inspirational, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you changed my life in this kind of carry on, by, like, Jesus Christ, man, like. That's it for me, like, that tops it for me, like, do you know what I mean?
How did you feel? Like, were you able to accept them, comment them?
I felt good.
Yeah.
I felt good after the show, do you know what I mean? I felt like good. But when I watched myself on telly, I felt even better, like, that was it then, like, do you know what I mean? You never realise yourself how much you change, because, do you know what I mean, you're yourself, like, you don't notice it, like. But when I watched myself, I was like, fucking hell, I got a lot of confidence after watching the show, like, and all the people texting me kind of gave me drive to keep on inspiring, and, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I want to do this, like, I'm going to do this, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I would have never had the confidence to jump on an Instagram video and talk while I try to help people, like, and I guarantee you there's not one person out there that ever thought that I'd be out there trying to help people, like, do you know what I mean? And I'm doing it, like, now, like.
I can relate there with a lot of what you're saying, you know, after I was on the telly that time, like, I would have been a very private person as well. There was no Instagrams or Facebooks, no, I would have never done any videos like that, or the thought of doing this would have been not something I would have ever even considered, you know. But you know, when I went on the television that time, like that now, people contacted me from fucking calling me an inspiration, say I've helped them, and people actually accepting me, or you know, liking me just for who I am, just for being myself. Do you know what I mean? And then you can be. There's no more doubting then, because your family can say, "Oh, we love you and we like you," and your friends and stuff. But they're supposed to say that. But when strangers that you've never met seeing you on the telly for an hour, and when you're just being yourself and you know, giving your story, and then people giving you a compliment and good feedback and stuff like that, then you will begin, you know, it helped me grow as well. Do you know what I mean? It helped me, like,
helped me an awful lot, by
you know, I start to become more confident, and fucking, it's going to get better for you. But you just learn now that fucking you're good enough who you are, and people like you for who you are, and just be yourself.
That's the one thing I wanted to say. Like, my whole life growing up, I was trying to be this bad man. Do you know what I mean? I wanted people looking at me as this toughie when I was just a scared, hurt, lost child. Like, do you know what I mean? And for now, like, I'm just being myself, by, and for people to text me like all over Ireland by saying you're a legend and all this kind of stuff, like, it's it made me, like, do you know what I mean? It's just I'm fucking over the moon, by, do you know what I mean? Like,
And you've
helping people, like
this status and image you've got and all that now, without the drugs, without the violence and the anger. People, you have all that now just for being yourself, you know.
It feels like my life is only actually starting now, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're only 19, but you've the world at your feet. You're handsome, built like a tank.
Yeah.
You know?
It's all coming. It'll all come to you, boy. You track it. It's coming to you. Don't worry, and you will get more confident. The nerves won't be as evident as you know. You will just get more confident, and these cameras and microphones and stuff, they won't mean nothing to you after a while.
Yeah.
You know, you'll just be able to do your thing and just chat. I was a nervous fucking wreck for the first 2 podcasts. Literally, like I was nearly getting sick. You know, the thoughts of even sharing my story, but I knew it was the right thing to do at the time.
The feedback you got though was unbelievable.
Yeah, the feedback. It was good.
That's what drives you. That's what gives you the drive, by when people are texting you. Like if people text me saying, "Oh, like, I always had a dream of going into the army." A fella texted me the other day. "I always had a dream of going into the army, and I never thought of it possible. After watching the show, I now know it's possible. I'm going to chase my dream."
That's unreal.
Do you mean, it's like, fucking hell,
Do you know, if you had any advice before we finish up, if you had any advice for a young person, male or female, that's in a similar situation than you were in, what would you say to them? I know it's not an easy question.
No, like, no matter what you did, who you were, what you've been through, you can change. Like, right now, like, do you know what I mean? There's nothing stopping you.
Yeah.
Like, just saying, I'd say do what makes you happy. Like, do you know what I mean? It matters a lot. Like, do you know what I mean? What makes you happy? Like, people think it's just about, you know, about money and stuff like that. Like, it's just because everyone talks about it. Like, you know, just because everyone talks about money, everyone thinks that you need money to be happy and stuff. Like, you don't. Like, do you know what I mean? Money. Don't get me wrong, money can be mandatory, but it's not mandatory to be happy, like, do you know what I mean? If everyone was talking about you don't need money, like, do you know what I mean? Then everyone would think you don't need money, like, do you know what I mean? It's just the fact that everyone's talking about it, like.
But you know, when you're looking after yourself, Cian, and you're happy, and you're maintaining your recovery, and you're, you know, tipping away, the money and all that follows naturally.
I don't give a shit
the
about
house, the Odal, the car, the job, the money, that'll all fall into place. You won't even have to do anything. Obviously, you'd have to turn up for work and do your courses or whatever, but you don't need to put any power into all that. That'll all happen for you. And I often think, like, I was, you know, 28 in my 30s now, when I got myself together, thinking, I've said to Timmy, like, where would we be today if we were 18 or 19 when we got ourselves together, you know? But you know what, we can't change that. But you're 19 now, boy, and you're getting yourself together. You've fucking a huge future ahead of you. Down the line, if you ever run into difficulty, and things might get tough for you down the line as well, like, you know, recovery's not easy. You can always call us, you know, we'll be always your friend. Our phones are always open, you know what I mean? And we'd be happy to mentor you, provide guidance or advice or whatever you need. Just give us a shout, and you'll always stay a friend of the podcast. And look, we'll touch base with you again in the near future and see how you're getting on, and update your fans now, because you've a lot of fans.
So just before we finish there, I just want to say one thing there, just going back to what you were saying about being, you know, money and things. You know, I would have been very materialistic myself once upon a time when I was fucking destroyed from alcohol and drugs and stuff. And something I learned as time went on, you know, you often hear about heaven. You know, for me, growing up, and my understanding of heaven was, when I die, I'll go to heaven, you know. I thought when I die, I'll go to heaven and it'll be nice. But on this earth, in the last few years, I have reached places of mind that I call heaven, you know, where I've no thought, where it's just peace. I've peace and I've love for myself, and I don't need anything else. Nothing else matters.
When you master that, but
you know,
that's the biggest, that's the best success you can get, man. In my opinion,
that's
like, you know what I mean, that's
There is
real
heaven.
success, by.
Yeah.
When you wake up happy every day, like, do you know what I mean? I wake up happy every day, grateful.
Good.
I'm already grateful because I woke up, like, do you know what I mean? That's me. I say positive things to myself every day, like, and I'm happy out by, and I just can't
keep those
appreciate
positive
enough,
people
by,
around you every day as well.
100%, but who you surround yourself has a big impact on who you are, like, it does, like, do you know what I mean?
And
People don't realise that, like.
Keep doing what you're doing, Cian, boy. Thanks very, very much for coming on and sharing your experience. I've loved it myself anyway.
It means a lot.
Yeah, it's no hassle. Look, thanks for coming on. Thanks, Timmy. What was your friend's name?
Michael.
R.I.P. to Michael. He'd be very proud of you today. I hope Michael's family is doing well. I wish your mother and father the best of luck with everything going forward. And you know what? They've raised a very good young fella.
Yeah.
They've raised a very good young fella. And they can share in all your achievements going forward. You know, so it's turned out really well for you and your family. So I wish you all the best. And shout out to the school completion officers, the psychologists, the teachers, the youth workers, and all these other people that work with young people like yourself, you know, because it's valuable work.
Do you know Fiona Penny?
I've heard that name.
Fiona Penny, she asked me. Now Fiona Penny, she's one as well that support me. Nora,
I think I've heard on training there with the ETB soon. You know, I think
I've heard of her name somewhere. I've seen her name somewhere.
Shout out to you anyway, Fiona.
Thanks, Fiona, for helping.
She supported me along the way as well. Her Nora.
Good man. Well, look, thanks again. Thanks, Timmy. Thanks, Ron. And we'll see everybody next week. See you later.